It's time to take control of your future starting now, and we're doing it live. Hi, we're the Stidhams, and our goal is to help you get self-directed. It's the tax-free income that will shape your legacy. It's wealth, time, and the freedom you deserve. What you're about to learn will enable you to make confident and strategic moves. It means gaining complete control to invest in what you want when you want. We've helped thousands of people just like you. And if they can do it, you can too. So we hope you're ready, because it's about time that your money started working for you. And we're so excited that you chose us to show you how.
Starting right now. Starting right now. That was abrupt.
Oh, yeah, that was abrupt.
Like right now.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, okay. Welcome. We're live. We didn't know. Just kind of threw us off guard. Tonight we are going to talk about UBIT. We kind of mentioned this before, but tonight we're going to kind of dig in. We're also going to talk about our Saturday sessions that we're opening up to have like a group session on Saturday mornings. We kind of determined in the group that Saturday mornings was the best. If that works for you, let us know. We're going to go, not this weekend to give people some time. We're going to schedule it for next weekend, and hopefully we'll keep everybody warmed up and ready to go. If that works for you, let us know. Okay, so IRAs, Roth IRAs. Why is everybody talking about these, and what should you know about them? We're going to play a video for you that you saw, but you guys have seen these all over the place because they're so common. All you got to do is get a Roth IRA, and then here's all you got to do in order to retire early with your Roth IRA. Wow. Holy cow. Did you know, Donnell, that a Roth IRA will allow you to invest tax-free? Did you know that?
And where did you hear that from?
Yeah, that's why I follow him. And for us, it's sad to see this type of stuff being put out on social media because it performs or because it makes that person look like they're delivering information, right? So that's one thing. Adding value, right? Are they saying the wrong thing on purpose? No, I think they are repeating what they also heard. They're just repeating the same information, and they're hoping that they could help people, right? I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt that that's the majority of people, that they really have the intent to help people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, hey, Frankie. Here's the other part, though. Does it matter if the intent is to help people, but they are helping people go down the wrong path, a dark alley, blindfolded, backwards, enthusiastically? That part does matter. And while we can't get this information out to everybody because it's not really that popular, it's not a sexy topic as we talk about, right?
It really isn't. It's not.
It's not sexy, but it's important, and it's more important that we understand why IRAs in general are overhyped. While they're pretty much only talked about the majority of the time, especially when we're talking about self-directed accounts, it is more common that you will hear about self-directed IRA than you will about a self-directed 401k. Here's an example for real estate investors and developers out there. There's a lot, I'm sure, if you are in that community, you are being served a ton of ads right now for all of these conventions that are happening this year. There's a ton of them. There's WealthCon, there's RubeCon, tons of those types of events for people who are interested in investing in real estate. The problem is, if you go through, what are you paying for with your ticket? What is the information in this mastermind that you're going to get? Part of that is this very exclusive how to get structured with a self-directed IRA and how to use your retirement funds in order to invest in real estate. This stream alone will show you how flawed it is for people to be leading only with a self-directed IRA. Are you going to tell them why they do it?
Well, there's a lot here. Of course I am.
Okay.
Because obviously it's who gains, who benefits, what do they have to gain to kind of walking you down this path blindly, right? But the other piece is what I want to try to do is take the walk from, hey, I've watched some of this social media content. I've been drawn into, go after getting a Roth IRA, whether self-directed or not. And then I just want to walk you through some of the conversations that I have, because usually it goes like this. They'll see this video and say, hey, I watched this video and here's what I would like to do as it relates to this video. And I will step them through why this video was served to them, what it looks like to have a vehicle like this, and what it looks like if you kind of come out on the other side of this thing, and the impact of having a self-directed IRA, what it can do for you, what it can't do for you, what's the impact tax-wise, all of those kind of things, and then step right into, but here's why a 401k will work better. So it's kind of making that walk, but using this video, and this is one of hundreds that I've seen. But this one specifically I like because it kind of mentions something else that I end up running into as well. But it's making the walk from this video to why you would actually want something different. So
Yeah. So why would you even want an IRA? Well, you may not after you watch this. All right. Well, let's get into it. You want to show them the video first?
yeah, we can start with the video.
All right. Let's start there.
In this video, I'm going to show you how to open a Roth IRA and show you how a Roth IRA works. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is open a Roth IRA. And you can do this through dozens of online brokers. Some popular choices are Vanguard, Fidelity. I personally use Schwab. The next thing you're going to do is contribute, aka add money, using after-tax dollars. And ladies and gentlemen, for most Americans, the money that you get in your paycheck is after-tax dollars. And you can contribute up to $7,000 a year if you're under the age of 50, and you can contribute $8,000 a year to your Roth IRA if you're over the age of 50. Now, for all of you watching that are over the age of 50, just remember that it's never too late to open a Roth IRA. Now, after you've opened a Roth IRA account and contributed or added money to that account, the next thing you're going to do is invest that money. And this step, ladies and gentlemen, is very, very important, because a lot of people open a Roth IRA and they add money to that Roth IRA account, but they forget to invest that money. And you can invest your Roth IRA money into stocks, bonds, mutual funds, or index funds. I personally prefer index funds. And last but not least, after years of contributing and investing your Roth IRA money, after the age of 59 and a half, you can withdraw some or all of your Roth IRA money tax-free. So even if your Roth IRA has grown to a couple of $100,000 or a couple of $1 million, you can withdraw some or all of that money tax-free after the age of 59 and a half. Financial knowledge is power. Please like and follow. In this video, I'm going to show you.
Okay. He has financial coaching, by the way. So this is not only just information that he's sharing with his audience, right, with everyone. He's also saying you could pay me for this information and I will guide you through it. This is terrifying, but it's happening all over the place. I want to throw this in here though. This is why we now have laws being implemented to stop people, just anybody, from becoming a coach, especially a financial coach. This is terrifying actually, because the moment that you realize that this is flawed information is too late. It's too late. Or you have already gotten structured in with an IRA and then you call Donnell and you say, well, I didn't know at the time when I got my IRA. And so now I want to switch it over to a 401k. Then what happens, Donnell?
Can't.
But they won't tell you that either, because most of them don't even know that a self-directed 401k exists or that you can get your own 401k. And so therefore they're unfamiliar that it's even possible or how to use them even. So there's a lot of things that we're going to address here. One of the particular downsides of an IRA is something called UBIT. There's a lot to unpack, like an envelope of income, business income tax. And that's what we're going to peel back today, because you don't hear people talking about it a lot at all.
But hold on, there's so much here. Because in all honesty, what was said wrong in the video?
Okay.
Nothing. There was nothing said that was actually wrong in the video. What I also loved about it was bullet number 3, because I run into this a lot. People say, go get you a Roth IRA, and they start putting their last year it was $6,500 and $7,500 or whatever that dollar amount was last year. Now it's $7,000 and $8,000 that you're able to contribute into into an IRA or a Roth IRA. So everyone went out and got one. And I've got clients who have had them for 5-6 years. And their comment is always, well, not always. I've had several who have commented, but it's not growing. Mm-hmm. I've got the Roth IRA. I've got the IRA. I've been contributing my $6,000 to it, but it's not growing. And my normal question is usually, what is it invested in? And there's almost this look of invested. I'm supposed to invest it. Like I thought if I contributed to my IRA or I contributed to my Roth IRA, it was going to do something. And again, there's so many banks that offer these. There's a lot of times that things get lost in translation. And so what I love about his bullet number 3 was making sure it's invested in something. And so what ends up happening is I get a call going, hey, I want an IRA because I understand that your site, sdretirementplans.com, you offer IRAs. Yep, I do. So I would like an IRA and I would like so that I can start investing in some of these mutual funds, stocks, and bonds. And I start asking questions like, why? What is the reason for you wanting to be able to invest in these things? Hey, I want to grow retirement income. I want to, do all of these things. And so as we started peeling back the layers, what we start to learn is one, either they fully understand how an IRA works, or there's a lot of misinformation out there, and it's just so much clarity needing to be provided to understand what this vehicle is and what it isn't. And so, again, in this video that we just watched, he's absolutely correct. You have to make sure it's invested in something, and how it's invested matters. And so, if you want, sweetheart, we can jump right into the Vibe board, and I can walk through kind of again making the walk from this video to a call that I receive around, hey, I want an IRA, and we can kind of step through it. Or if you have any other questions or anything you want to touch on, we can, because we are absolutely going to break down UBIT and what that means and where it's impacted.
Yeah. Well, first of all, not everybody qualifies to have their own 401k, right?
Right.
That's so
We'll get into it.
Even though it's better. Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure. And hello, everyone. I'm looking through the comments, and thank you all so much for joining us. You're going to love this. This is guaranteed to benefit every single person out there who either has an IRA, has a 401k, or is looking to get self-directed and have a self-directed IRA or 401k and be able to invest in non-traditional things. So that's where this can help you. Okay. All right. Well, let's jump into it.
So again, there's a lot that we offer. There's a lot that I talk about. But again, going back to that video talks about creating a Roth IRA. And whether we're talking about a traditional IRA or Roth IRA, to me, they're the same as far as what you can do with them. Yes, one is better tax advantage than the other, but the bottom line is we're talking about an IRA in general. And so, and usually what happens is most people are looking at an IRA and thinking that, hey, I want this IRA so that I can start building this this life insurance, not life insurance. I want this IRA so that I can start building supplemental income to support my traditional 401k or defined benefit plan or TSP or whatever the case may be, not realizing that their IRA is tied in to what's called the compound interest or the investment equation, meaning the impact that where they're, getting screwed up, where their IRA is invested and how that IRA grows is completely dependent upon this investment equation, meaning the performance of their IRA is completely dependent upon what's happening in the market. And so when we break down, as you guys have seen before, as we break down what that ultimately means, that means, hey, their IRA is tied to this equation. What that ultimately means is, hey, there's risk involved, meaning risk of the stock market. And so as we break down, hey, IRA, what is it? How do you use it? What are you wanting to invest in? We immediately jump to, well, how can I get my money out of the market? And then we start talking about a self-directed IRA. So from a video like this, we go from, hey, I want an IRA to be able to invest in mutual funds, stocks, and bonds, only to learn those mutual funds, stocks, and bonds actually, due to risk, are impacting my ability to really significantly grow my IRA. So, hey, how can I convert my IRA to something like this? How can I move my traditional retirement account or my Roth retirement account into a vehicle that has less risk? Well, in order to do that, what you would want to do is put it in a position to where you can self-direct it. So what does that mean? All that ultimately means is, hey, I want to reduce, if not eliminate, the risk. Put my IRA in a position to where I can pay myself first, immediately, somewhere secure. So if I'm going to get my money out of the market, what is it that I would be able to invest in? Well, that's where I usually introduce the non-traditional investments like real estate, like land, like gold and silver. Some people see crypto as a better opportunity. I don't necessarily do that. But bottom line is, it gives you the opportunity to be able to invest in what you want. Put your money somewhere more secure than where it is today, meaning it's not impacted by who's president. It's not impacted by what happens in the stock market. And then compound your money, and then ultimately put your money in a position to where you can leverage OPM to be able to do other things. And so as we talk about how to generate, how to create an IRA, what does that look like compared to the traditional or the Roth IRA that you would actually have with Fidelity? And what that ultimately looks like is, hey, we're going to take that same IRA you have sitting at Fidelity, and we're going to move it to a new custodian. Why? We're going to move that money to a new custodian and generate and or create a brand new IRA for you. We're going to create a brand new IRA using, and all you need to be able to create an IRA is earned income. So anyone can have an IRA. Now, if you make too much money, that will impact what you can contribute into an IRA. But the moral of the story is anyone can have one. Any earned income can fund an IRA. So what we would do is move those funds from that Fidelity account, move it into a brand new self-directed IRA. But just because it's moved to a self-directed IRA does not mean you now have checkbook control over those dollars. That does not mean that you can now invest in non-traditional investments. That does not mean you can get your money out of the market, is my point. The IRA has to have some structure. And that structure is created by the IRA itself purchasing an LLC. And again, that's the IRA. The funds from the IRA are going to purchase a brand new LLC. And that LLC, what happens with that LLC is that LLC has its own EIN number. And when the IRA purchases the LLC, which has an EIN number, we will then use that EIN number to open up a checking account. And then what happens is then you're able to transfer the funds from the IRA into the checking account of the LLC, which now gives you full control over these dollars. But again, just because the funds are now sitting in that IRA, that doesn't mean that they're going to magically go to work for you. No different than when you open up a regular IRA with Fidelity or Equity Trust or whoever. So the bottom line is, once these dollars are here, you still have to take action. And just so we're clear, I've talked a lot about IRA, traditional dollars versus Roth dollars. And I just wanted to remind everyone what I mean. Whether I'm talking about Roth or traditional IRAs, I'm just talking about when you're taxed. For a traditional IRA, you're taxed at the end. You're taxed when you go to take a distribution. As far as Roth, you're actually taxed in the beginning. So if you're investing, if you're contributing $1,000 a year into your IRA and you pay taxes on that $1,000 at the end of every year, then what you've done is you converted that $1,000 into a Roth dollar amount. And now anything that grows from that Roth dollar amount over time, when you go to take a distribution, that distribution is then tax-free. Versus if you're putting in traditional dollars, meaning you're putting in that $1,000 and you're not being taxed on that $1,000 that's going in. Once you go to take a distribution, then you will be taxed on the distribution itself. And just so we're clear, Roth is a condition. Your money being converted from traditional to Roth is simply a condition. It is not something that you have to ask to do. It's something that you can choose to do. And when you choose to do it, you can actually use that money at that moment to be Roth. The condition that has to be met, though, is at the end of the taxed year. So if I converted that $1,000 today to Roth, at the end of the taxed year, so on December 31st or whenever I do my taxes for 2024, I will then 1099-R myself for the amount that I converted. And then the second step is my account has to be in place for 5 years. Once my Roth account is in place for 5 years, anything that happened with that $1,000 from now to the 5-year mark has now been growing tax-free. And then by the age of 59 and a half, I can now access all of those funds tax-free for the rest of my life. And so my point in sharing this is the structure. The structure of an IRA is pretty simple, but an IRA is just a glorified savings account. And it does not have the capability for you to be able to self-direct it and invest in what you want without structure. So what I do is I apply that structure. And as he also stated in this video, contribution amounts. Contribution amounts are $7,000 if you're under the age of 50 and $8,000 if you're over the age of 50. But again, just because you contributed $8,000 into your Roth IRA, your traditional IRA, Your self-directed Roth IRA or your self-directed traditional IRA, doesn't matter. Just because you contributed that $8,000 doesn't mean that that account is going to do anything for you. You have to put that money to work. But what does that mean?
Well, real
Go
quick,
ahead.
also, who is retiring off of $7,000 or $8,000 invested a year?
I say it
Who's
often.
you have to put it somewhere, so then it's under the conditions of whatever market conditions are or limitations. But also, this is the part that's crazy to me, that nobody else is talking about a self-directed 401k. We know why they don't, and we're going to tell you why they don't. But this is the part that is literally insane, because $7,000 or $8,000 is not helping anybody. Maybe it was in the beginning. Maybe it was just like a quick little stash off into the stash some cash, get it off of your books, whatever. Little $7,000 or $8,000 was like a big deal back in what,
74 is when it started.
Yeah. Okay. Remember them eating the Jello? So we haven't moved far from that. That's what's crazy. Okay. Can carry on.
No, you're fine. And so in to your point, in contributing that $7,000 or $8,000 a year, where you put it matters. Can you put away $7,000 or $8,000 a year and retire off that money at some point? You can. But it's going to take a long time, some diligence on your part, and the vehicle that you put it in matters. And so what I'm talking about is when people reach out to me and go, okay, I follow, I want to get my money out of the market. I want to move my IRA into a better position so that I can have more control of it. Okay, I understand it requires some structure. I understand it requires my IRA to purchase an LLC. But now what can I invest in? And again, I talk about non-traditional investments a lot. What can I invest in? Most of the time, most of the people I talk to, they want to invest in real estate. Some form of some fix and flip, some apartment complex, some form of real estate is usually the objective. And why is that? And that's because 90% of the people that I run into want to invest in real estate. And that's mainly because 90% of the people who are millionaires in this country became so through real estate. So it's a lucrative opportunity. But people don't realize having an IRA and investing that IRA into real estate opportunities can gravely impact your ability to grow significant dollars inside of your IRA. And most people don't understand why. But you have to ask yourself, why is it that I am flooded with these advertisements from Equity Trust and this gentleman that we showed and IRA Services and all of these different companies promoting IRAs? Like, why is that? Who benefits? What is the impact? But again, my point is, this is not an exhaustive list of what you can invest in. This is a very, very short list. Matter of fact, your imagination is much larger than what this list could possibly be. The key piece to remember is there's some certain things that you cannot invest in. But as far as what you can, really your imagination will dictate all of that. And so what I just wanted to highlight was an example of what it would look like to invest your IRA, whether it's traditional or Roth, invest your IRA into a real estate opportunity. And I wanted to highlight specifically the impact of UBIT. So just to highlight the example before we get into the video related to UBIT, just to highlight the example, what we're talking about doing is you've got $100,000 in your Roth IRA. Again, it's a Roth IRA, so you're building tax-free return. So you've got $100,000 in that Roth IRA. You're looking to borrow. You're looking to leverage. You don't have enough to buy the property that's worth $200,000. So you need an additional $100,000 from somewhere else. So you're going to borrow $100,000 from elsewhere. Where it's from really doesn't matter. It can be from a bank. It can be from a person. It can be from me. But you have $100,000. You're looking to borrow $100,000 to be able to purchase a property for $200,000, which will then sell for $300,000. And the question is, what's the impact of UBIT? UBIT stands for Unrelated Business Income Tax. And sweetheart, if you don't mind, can you share with us the genius who put this together around what UBIT may or may not be? I don't know who you're going to show, but
yeah, I got you.
IRA and 401k Basics. UBIT. What is it? Why it matters? And the impact to compound interest right about now. So what is UBIT? So there are a few acronyms that you just have to be aware of when it comes to investing in general. but specifically when you're using your self-directed retirement accounts to invest in non-traditional investments. And that's whether we're talking about a self-directed IRA or a self-directed 401k, Roth, or traditional dollars. The first one being IRS. And I think all of us know who and what the IRS is. The other, specifically as it relates to IRAs and 401ks, is UBIT, unrelated business income tax. Not to be confused with UBTI and UDFI. See, all three are different, but all are derived from UBIT, unrelated business income tax. So we're going to address UBIT, unrelated business income tax. But again, all three of them are derived from UBIT. So if you can understand UBIT, you can understand the others. So in order to understand the unrelated business income tax, we got to take a step back in time. So we're talking Great Depression, World War II, Betty Boop, big band or swing music, and Superman makes his introduction into the comics. A wealthy gentleman who made his fortune by milling sugarcane passes away. In his estate planning, he leaves his sugar mill because he doesn't have any family, doesn't have anyone to pass it on to. He leaves his sugar mill to his alma mater. Confused by this generous donation, the university is confused as to what it is they can do with the sugar mill. Do we sell it? One of their finance fellows just makes a small suggestion. What if we run it? What if we produce sugar? What if we do what it's designed to do? Why would this be a positive thing to do? Why does this make sense? What could possibly be the benefit of running this mill, given the fact that it's a university that's not their main role and responsibility? So there's a headache associated with that. Like, what would be the point or the purpose? Well, think about it. It's a university. What does that mean? Universities are tax exempt. So what does that mean? If the university owns a sugar mill and the university runs that sugar mill, any profits made from that sugar mill is tax exempt. There's money to be made here, a lot of money to be made here. And again, they're a university. So because of a university's tax exempt status, and this sugar mill now belongs to this university, they can now produce tax exempt. So they do just that. And word gets around that this university is running this mill void of all taxes. The neighboring sugar mill owners gets word of this and they start to complain because it's not fair that this university is exempt from taxes, but I'm not. You're not, but this university is. We're doing the exact same job. We're producing the exact same item. It's the exact same processes within each facility. It's cookie cutter, no different, but one is tax exempt and one is not. It's not fair. Fast forward to 1950 and the Revenue Act of 1950 is now passed. And as a result, tax-exempt entities such as universities, soon to be included tax-exempt products such as Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, SEP IRAs, simple IRAs, have now been included into UBIT. UBIT, UBTI, and UDFI are provisions added to the Revenue Act of 1950 designed to eliminate an unfair competitive advantage that was being enjoyed by the tax-exempt entities and organizations over their tax-paying counterparts in the non-exempt world. That's a mouthful. And this was later amended to include IRAs. But what does all of that mean in English? UBIT was introduced to level the playing field and make it fair for the average American and business owners who were not allotted tax-exempt status. Oh, and did I mention? UBIT is an annual tax paid on your profits. And are you okay with being taxed up to 37% in some cases? I'm not. How do you avoid UBIT, UBTI, UDFI? Well, in most cases, you really can't. There are strategies you can implement as a result of the tax code changes from 2017, and that will allow you to reduce the impact of UBIT. But as far as eliminating UBIT, that's a challenge. So you can get that 37% down to somewhere closer to 21% as a result of the tax code changes. There is one exception though, and I've already mentioned this, as it specifically relates to real estate leveraged inside of a retirement account. And I am referencing using a non-recourse loan to bridge the gap between what you currently have in your retirement account and what you actually need for the deal. So as it relates to leveraging real estate transaction inside of a self-directed 401k, whether that's a self-directed Roth 401k or a self-directed 401k with traditional dollars, UBIT does not apply. It's like getting a 37% increase in your profits by just having a 401k over an IRA. So I've asked this question before. So which type of IRA would you prefer? And in my world, where we're using our IRA dollars to invest in real estate, which type of IRA would you prefer to invest in real estate? Spoiler alert, none of them. The goal of this video was to give you some of the history on IRA and to introduce you to UBIT. We should all be aware of UBIT. UBIT is very similar to compound interest. He who understands it earns it. He who does not pays it. UBIT, if you don't understand UBIT, I guarantee you, you will be paying it.
Okay, that's funny. If you have not seen how I trolled Donnell in the edits, you have to see some of his older videos because that was my outlet.
Right. My
Yeah.
videos were so bad, and I don't know if they're any better today, but my videos were so bad that was how you got your release. It was, you had to troll. You didn't have a choice.
Yeah, well, it's because the topic is not like, wow, I'm super interested in this topic, and it was a snooze fest for me even to edit. Sometimes the topics were just like, so I it was a public service to
It's all
add
in
in
love,
some
sweetheart.
jokes.
It's
Yeah,
all in
I
love.
don't have a stage. I don't have a stage. This is my stage. It's where I get it. This where I get it in, guys. All right. So talking about UBIT, I think the story behind why UBIT even exists is almost very similar to why we have retirement plans in
Right.
place, right?
Right.
It really
So-
was. Oh, go ahead.
No, you got it.
It really was put in place just simply because it became not fair, right? They also they evolved because there's other opportunities for people to make money where they thought, why can't we do this? And if as long as they think that they're winning, as long as they could win too, right? Then why doesn't it matter that we can create an entire industry that's not even governed or regulated so that we can siphon off of their funds? Like, why not? Right?
Right.
Yeah,
And
I
it-
love that for us.
So, and I think, and Peaky brings up a great point, because I talk a lot about IRAs, and what you have to remember about Roth is this: Roth limited your contributions, meaning there's only so much you can, like IRAs, you're limited on what you can contribute, but there is no limit on what you can make, and that's the difference here. The difference is when because some of us are limited to having an IRA regardless. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want you to think that, hey, just because I'm talking more about how UBIT and other things impacted by an IRA doesn't mean you can't have one or you shouldn't get one. They are still solid vehicles. But my issue is custodians out here, companies out here are not being truthful and honest around the full picture. You should know everything associated with an IRA, everything associated with the 401k, and how that can impact you so that you can make the best decision. Instead, what's happening is custodians are focused on IRAs because they make a lot of money off of them. Custodians are focused on IRAs because they can nickel and dime you to death.
And they're easy.
And they're
for
easy.
them.
They're very simple to create. And to Peter Thiel's, what he was able to do was he took a small dollar amount, he took that small dollar amount and bought a large amount of stock with it. And the growth is unlimited inside of a retirement account. So there's no limit on what you can grow inside of it. There's just a limit on what you can put in as far as a contribution. So that's the difference.
Okay, well, why would this matter to somebody? Where would this impact them? Because I think this does matter. If you don't see yourself in the position today, it doesn't mean that this isn't something that maybe you're gearing up for. Multifamily homes, for instance, this is a big trend right now.
Right.
Franchising is a trend. Where could this impact somebody beyond a sugar mill, right? Or a business? So where would somebody want to beware?
So, and I think that's kind of this example that we're walking through. It is when you don't have enough in your retirement account to be able to make the investment that you want, and you need to bridge that gap with someone else's money. Whenever you're looking to be able to take advantage of an opportunity, regardless of the size of the opportunity, meaning you could only have $5,000 in your IRA. That $5,000 can still purchase a property for $500,000.
Yeah, well,
All it takes is leverage.
Well, let's break that down. You can only put $8,000 into your IRA. If you don't have something to convert over, how long is it going to take you to be able to fund something yourself? So this is my point. This is not helping anybody because you're so limited as to what the funds that you can put in that qualify as your own funding, right? So you have to then borrow or pool asset classes together, in which case changes the structure of the investment, right? To your point around the limitations on what you can put in, there's also that limits the amount that you can reduce out of your taxable income as well. So there's quite a lot of reasons why they should talk more about a self-directed 401k, but you will not hear them say it. Matter of fact, tell me a video that you have seen out there where they have talked about a Roth 401k.
Doesn't exist.
It doesn't. You hear everybody talking about a Roth IRA, and it's just because they're parroting other people. Sequoia said, I have a whole MBA and I have never heard of UBIT in any class.
And again, why would you?
Yeah.
Like at what point, it's no different than most people don't learn the 4% rule until it's time for them to retire. You won't learn about UBIT until you're impacted by it.
Yep. Yeah, right. And then your accountant
It's too late at that point.
Yeah, right. They're saying, well, there's this thing called UBIT. And you're like, well, why didn't anybody tell me? Because I might have structured this completely different. Yeah, that's unfortunate. So we have some questions. If you want to just answer them real quick before we go into the example. Okay, we'll start with Rose since I just have her up right now. Is there a difference in dollars that can be contributed versus dollars that can be rolled over? In other words, can I roll over more than I'm allowed to contribute? Great question.
So yeah, that's an awesome question. So can you, so there's no limit on how much you can roll over or transfer. There is a limit on the number of rollovers. So I think the limit is like 3 within a year, meaning you can roll over money from one employer to another employer. I think the limit is like 3 times a year. Don't quote me on that because I'd have to Google it to find out. But here's the thing. A rollover and a transfer are actually the same thing. So if you just do a transfer, you can do unlimited transfers. So it's really weird, but it's just a way to get around the clause. So rollovers, transfers are absolutely different than contributing. You contribute as it relates to an IRA, you're contributing your taxable income. So if you make $100,000, you can contribute $8,000 or $7,000 of that $100,000 a year that you make. And you can put that into an IRA. That contribution has nothing to do with the fact that you can also transfer all $500,000 from your previous employer into that IRA if you wanted to. So there's no limit on that. So that's a great question.
Okay. Next up we have, I thought I had already flagged it. It's a question from Sequoia. She says, Donnell, what custodians do you use?
So for our IRAs, the custodians we use are Comerica Bank and Solera. For our specific IRAs, now we can work with any custodian. But just understand, for an IRA, custodians are required. And because custodians are required, you can't eliminate custodial fees. So you will be impacted by custodial fees. The specific ones that I use for the IRAs that I create, we've been able to at least haggle down those fees to where they're minimal. And actually most of them are flat versus most custodians charge custodial fees based off the size of the account. So as the account gets bigger, the fees get larger, whereas ours are flat. So that's one positive. But the bottom line is with an IRA, it requires a custodian, whereas with the 401k, no custodian is required. So the custodians we use for our 401ks are Solera, Titan, and who am I missing? Solera, Titan, and Comerica Bank for our 401ks. And again, we can work with any custodian, but these 3 specifically charge 0 custodial fees. So who you use for your self-directed retirement account matters because that also impacts the fee structure. So.
Okay. Christy, welcome, by the way. She says, what about a GRIP? GRIP.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know.
I have no idea what GRIP means. So I would say, give me the meaning of the acronym, and maybe that might jog a thought or something. But as far as I have no idea what GRIP means.
Yeah, it's not ringing a bell for me either. So
I'd have to Google it.
That's out of our lane. All right. How to invest for yourself says, I don't want a tax deferred account anymore. He was saying, I'd rather just pay the taxes.
See, and to me, when we were sitting in that cafeteria and they dropped that stack of papers on the table and said, "Hey, watch this video about 401k," and everyone opted in, and we were all sitting there looking at each other going, "What am I supposed to put?" I think it would have been lovely for us to kind of better understand what tax deferred versus what paying the taxes today really means.
Right.
Because I get it. No one wants to pay more than they have to today. No one does.
Right.
But if you had learned earlier that, if you know, since you know the tax rate today, 20 years ago, that was when I started in the workforce, 30 years ago when I started in the workforce, 30 years ago, if I had some corporate job that I've spent my last 25 years in, and had I been putting my money away, paid the tax on the money that I'm contributing in that moment, imagine what I would have. Imagine how much larger things would be. Imagine the position I would be in and living in a tax-free environment. Like, it's powerful. But again, why don't we know these things? Who benefits from us not having these answers? Who benefits from us not taking this approach?
And how many times do people start like some sort of side hustle to get extra money and they aren't able to invest that money because in their minds that 401k or that investment account is tied to their job, so they can't take money from their side business and put it in. They have no idea that a self-directed 401k even exists, right? So that money just becomes either I save it or I'm gonna spend it, right? Because what else am I gonna do with it? It just becomes a lifestyle buffer, right? Okay, I don't want to drag this out anymore because I want you to be able to get through what you're doing. But this one's funny. Peaky says, "Welcome to the University of all the Standard Times." All of them, all the Standard Times. All right, so are you ready to jump back in?
Yep, and I
Whiteboard,
see
right?
it right here. I'm gonna star April's question. So I say let's get through this example. I know there's other questions also, but I want to make sure I address April's as well. So we'll address that. So yep, you send me back over to the whiteboard.
All right. Mm-hmm.
So again, what that video was referencing, the video that I had done, maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago or whenever that was, it was related to what happens, what's the impact of UBIT on an opportunity where I only have 100,000 in my IRA and it's Roth. So I'm building tax-free profit, but I'm looking to leverage or borrow $100,000 to be able to buy a $200,000 opportunity. I buy that opportunity. I then sell that opportunity. I make $100,000 profit. Like, I'm excited. I'm ecstatic. But what ends up happening is the IRS comes along and says, wait a minute, it's not fair for you. I'll bring it over some. It's not fair for you to be able to use your tax-free vehicle to be able to make the same investment that Joe Public can't use or can't have the same leverage. Meaning, just like my IRA bought this property for $200,000 using a non-recourse loan, I could have personally done it. You could have personally done it. You could have borrowed $100,000 from a bank and bought that same property. But had you done it, what would have happened? You would have gotten hit by capital gains, right? There would have been a tax implication from you using your normal savings account and borrowing money from a bank and buying the same property. So to level the playing field, the IRS comes along and says, we're not going to allow you to get away with it. So UBIT is going to come along and tax 50% of your profits. Why 50% of your profits? Well, in the purchase price of this property, I only had 100,000. So I had to borrow another 100. So if the purchase price was 200,000, I only had 100. I had to get 50% of the purchase price through a non-recourse loan. So because 50% of the purchase price was used with a non-recourse loan, the IRS comes along and taxes 50% of my profits for 37%. And again, why? Because it levels the playing field between me using my IRA or my 401k for that matter, me using my Roth IRA or me using my traditional IRA for that matter. It levels the playing field against those who don't have that same option. But if we were to do the exact same investment using a 401k, and again, you heard it in the video, if we would do the exact same investment using a 401k, but before I kind of dig into that, what does that even mean to create a 401k? What does that process look like? How is that process different from an IRA? Well, to create a 401k, what we would do is move your previous employer's plan into a new self-directed 401k, meaning I would have to create, build. And the creation of a 401k is actually pretty simple, meaning a 401k is no different than a trust. So in essence, what I'm creating for you is a trust. And the beauty of a trust is a trust has its own EIN number. A 401k comes equipped with its own EIN number, and that's to include the 401k that you currently have with your job. Your 401k with your current employer is already structured to be able to be self-directed. The reason you can't self-direct it is because your employer and the custodian that your employer has won't allow you to. So it's not that it's not capable. It is already, a 401k is a trust. And so what happens is we're going to move your previous employer plan into a new self-directed 401k that we would create for you. And because that 401k has its own EIN number, that EIN number is no different than a social. We would take that EIN number, open up a checking account. And so we would connect that checking account to the 401k that we created for you. And now you have full checkbook control over those 401k dollars. And again, just because you have a 401k instead of an IRA, as it relates to UBIT is not impacted by a 401k. And I get this, I used to get this question a lot when I would present in front of these large crowds. It's, okay, I get it. If I've got an IRA or a Roth IRA, UBIT's going to come along and tax my profits at 37%. But why won't that happen with a what is it about a 401k that won't allow it to be taxed the same way? And in all of the research that I've done on this topic over the years, the best thing I could find was this. The only reason the 401k is not taxed the same way is because the lobbyists for 401ks asked to be excluded. So because the lobbyists for 401ks asked Congress to be excluded, they were. And as a result, 401ks are not impacted by UBIT. So you could do this exact same deal inside of a 401k. And notice, this is a self-directed 401k, not self-directed Roth 401k. So this isn't even Roth dollars. This is traditional dollars. So just having a 401k alone allows you to increase your profits by about 37% because you're not impacted by UBIT. And then, yes, if this was a Roth 401k, it's even better. So it's tax-free profit plus not being impacted by UBIT. So bottom line is just having a 401k allows you to kind of exclude yourself from or not be impacted by UBIT. And so just to kind of highlight some of the differences between an IRA and 401k, I wanted to start here with one requires a custodian, meaning the IRA is just a glorified savings account. In order to have the structure necessary to be able to invest in what you want, those non-traditional investments, it requires support. It requires structure. So we have to build that structure in, which means it also requires a bank. It requires a custodian support. And so an IRA requires a custodian, but a 401k does not. But what does that even mean? And it kind of speaks to a conversation that I had earlier today as it relates to custodians. Custodian is just a fancy word for bank. And when you think about it, we all have experience with the first one, meaning it's a custodian that you can only invest in what they sell. So if you have your money in any bank, any major bank across this country, that's an active custodian. You're paying transactional fees, you're paying maintenance fees, you're paying balance transfer fees. You can only, if you open up some type of account with this company, you can, if you're able to invest like from a Fidelity, a Vanguard, Morgan Stanley, Edward Jones, you can only invest in the mutual fund stocks and bonds that they offer if they offer mutual fund stocks and bonds. If we're talking a company like Bank of America, then your Bank of America account is only useful at Bank of America, meaning your checking account or your savings account can only do what Bank of America allows you to do with your checking account or savings account. You would actually have to go to Merrill Edge if you wanted to then invest that money in some of the other things that Bank of America offers. But what can you invest in with Merrill Edge? You can only invest in the mutual fund stocks and bonds that they offer. So moral of the story is all of us are familiar with the active custodian of number one. Those of us who are in this self-directed space, and those of us getting served like the initial video that we saw, any of you who have a self-directed IRA, any of you who have a self-directed IRA, 9 times out of 10, you're working with a custodian that will allow you to invest in what it is you want but they have to approve your ability to be able to do so. So they are an active custodian with passive tendencies, meaning you can invest in what you want, but you have to get their permission in order to proceed. And an equity trust is a prime example of that. Meaning, if you wanted to buy a property using your self-directed IRA with equity trust, you can do it, but you have to provide the portfolio to equity trust to allow them to go through it. And my issue here is, if you're any type of investor, you know time is not something that you have a lot of as it relates to investing in what you want. And so things have to move timely. If I've already done the homework to understand whether or not this is an investment that makes sense for me, do you think that the custodian that you're going to send that portfolio to has the same sense of urgency? 9 times out of 10, they do not. And so what ends up happening is deals are lost because of the time that it takes to get that approval. Whereas the self-directed retirement accounts that we create are all have passive custodians, meaning you are the one you are the sole decision maker in this process to be able to invest in what you want. So if it's, as it relates to a self-directed 401k, whether it's Roth or traditional dollars, any action you want to take, you decide what that action needs to be and how to take that action. There's no one standing over your shoulder, or there's no one standing over your shoulder telling you what to do, and there's no one that you have to wait on permission from to be able to take action. So again, understanding what type of custodian you have also determines how strong are the capabilities of the account that you have as well.
Wait, don't leave.
Yep.
Why do people like equity trust or IRA services, why do they downplay passive custodians?
Well, so one thing about active says, I'm involved. Well, what bank is going to be involved with your account and not get paid for it? So active implies fees. Passive implies no fees.
But what did they, there's particular things as to why they're saying, but you want the fees because this is the benefit to you, whereas this responsibility is far too much for you. What are they saying to people? Because there's a reason why people are still choosing to go with them, even though they've been educated on what a self-directed account is and what custodians you use or don't use, right, on purpose.
Well, I believe there is solace in knowing someone is standing over you, right? So I'm not saying that no one should work with equity trust. I'm saying if you're looking for a self-directed retirement account and you're wanting the capability to invest in what you want, understand what it is you're getting. And so I'm not saying it's a bad thing if you need some of that you need an overseer to watch over you to make sure you're doing everything properly. Like, there's a benefit to that. But if that's not a requirement that you need, then why are you paying for it? Because there is a cost associated with it.
If you have an opportunity to invest into a property, for instance, you don't have the time to go and run this deal by somebody so that they can gatekeep on whether or not, one, they're not tied to your outcome. So what do they care if they take a week or a couple days or a couple hours? They don't care. So that when they can get back to you is when they're going to get back to you, and hopefully the deal is still going, right? That's what a lot of people end up seeing, is that they lose out on deals. So while the promise is, no, if you want to invest in it, you can, that's not true. That's when people learn that they've already gotten themselves into these accounts and they don't have full control. But there's another part, because I heard somebody say it on a call earlier today, and I wanted to bring this up. He said that one of the big pitches was that you have to keep the account compliant. And he was saying that if you don't use an active custodian, that you have to be the one to make sure that you are keeping your IRA, 401k compliant with the current laws and statutes, right?
Right.
But while other companies can also start up a self-directed 401k or IRA for somebody, what makes you different in that regard?
Well, and because that is true, meaning when I create a self-directed 401k and pass it off to you, I have zero visibility, zero access to it. So that 401k does have to remain, I'll call it in good standing for the lifetime of you having that 401k. That's a requirement. My question is, why does that have to be associated with some cost of a custodian. Meaning, we can build that structure in as well. That doesn't mean you have to get nickel and dimed for balance transfers, check writing, not having enough in your account, when in truth, you want an account that you can actually keep the balance as close to zero as possible, because your money should be out working for you. This
Right.
is the velocity of money discussion, meaning your money should always be working. Your money should be out there making friends and building compound interest. And if that's the case, you should be in a position to where that account should be able to be kept as low as possible.
Right.
Why do
Because
I
it's not
need a
growing
bank?
in that account.
Exactly. There's nothing happening in that account that's going to allow that money to grow. That goes back to that first video around that bullet point 3, which was making sure you're investing your money in somewhere that can actually make money for you. That is not going to happen with it sitting at the custodian. That's still on you.
Yeah. Sequoia says, I'm proof. This happened to me. Took almost a month to approve my investment. I almost missed out on investing in a syndication. A month. Who has that kind of time?
And it goes back to becoming self-directed, being in control.
That's right.
You having full control over being able to take action when you want to take action without having to wait for someone to give you permission.
Yeah. The part that I was hoping that you'd say is that you do keep the account compliant in terms of,
absolutely.
yeah. So that part is covered, and it is a part of your account already, where I think what they're trying to say is, if you don't have an active custodian, you cannot get
Right,
that.
you lose that benefit.
Right.
When in truth, the structure that it's built in requires that benefit. So
Yeah.
it's not an option. It's not an a la carte that you just picked it off the menu and then added it to this account. That's why you want it with me versus them. It's automatic.
Yeah. But they really are saying that. And
Right.
man, we are whistleblowers for a reason, because we have seen it all to this point, at least through our experiences. Obviously, we haven't seen everything about everything, but in what our experience has been, and where we have found that there's some improvements that can be made, and there's some BS going on out there that people just don't know about until it's too late, to Sequia's point. And that's when you learn you really don't have control at all. Yeah, sad. All right.
And so I bring this up, and I'm still showing 2023 contributions because I still have clients opening 2023 accounts in 2024. So understanding what those contributions are matter. So if you remember, if you go back to the IRA, contribution limits for an IRA, 7,000 and 8,000 for 2024. But for 2024, as it relates to a 401k, those contribution limits are 23,000 if you're under the age of 50, plus 7,500 if you're, plus 6,500 if you're over the age of 50, right? So it's $30,000 if you're over the age. And then, and actually that's a typo. That shouldn't be 65. That should be 75. And it's $30,000, 30,500 if you're over the age of 50. And then if you add the match, which is 25% of your income up to $46,000, that 25% of your income up to $46,000 is the additional match, which means that total contribution limit is actually 76,000, not 75.5. It's actually 76,000. So there's a typo in here. But the moral of the story is the contribution limit is extremely higher. What is that? 9 times higher? 9 times higher than it would be inside of a regular IRA or a Roth IRA. And then when you're looking at 2023, the reason the 2023 is there is because you do have the ability to open a 401k now prior to the start of tax season, which is I think April 1st or April 15th, whichever one. I honestly don't know what the date is. I've been telling clients to get it done before April 1st. But if you open a 401k before April 1st, you're actually able to contribute 2023 contributions into it to reduce your taxable income for 2023 as well. Still, again, up until April 1st, you're still able to do that. So the 2023 contributions will 22.5 if you're under the age of 50. And then obviously you add that 6,500. Now here's where you do add the 6,500 catch-up contribution if you're over the age of 50, plus an additional 25% of your income, which equates to about, I think the limit is 43.5 for any catch up or any profit sharing, or some people call it a match contribution on your contribution amount for 2023. And
So
the basic, go ahead.
Why would anybody, just looking at these figures alone, why would anybody not be talking about a self-directed 401k? Why wouldn't anybody be talking about this? Why wouldn't we be talking about The reason to start a side hustle is so that you can qualify for this. Why wouldn't we be talking about this? How many people who are self-employed, who don't have a W-2 job, they're 1099 contractors, they are temporary, right? Temporary workers. What was I talking about the other day? They're fractional employees. So CFO, CMO, for multiple different companies. And yet some of these strategies right here, this one particular vehicle is a bucket that will reduce your taxable income so that you pay less in taxes. Did your CPA tell you about this? Did your accountant tell you about this? Did you have anybody on your team who was saying, hey, listen, if you had started your own business last year, if you qualify for this, then you need to tuck away, get as much money as you can out so that you can reduce your taxable income before you do your taxes? Did anybody tell you? Because they don't know about it. And the reason why they don't know about it is because they are not attached to your income. They're not attached to your outcome either. And that's the sad part about it, is we're very siloed in this way, just looking at how do we benefit. If there's not a win-win here somewhere, then I'm not looking for how to further educate myself so that I can help people. I may just parrot and repeat what everybody else is talking about. Because I promise you, if you were to go out there and look for who is talking about a Roth 401k, who is talking about the difference in contribution limits between an IRA or a 401k, that these aren't going to perform. So you're not going to see shorts and reels. This isn't going on TikTok or Instagram or anywhere else that we are just mindlessly scrolling and grabbing these info snacks from, right? They're not talking about this. They're not talking about it because other people aren't talking about it, or they're not talking about it simply because it won't get them as many views.
That's it.
I needed, hold on, I need my button. What? That's what I needed. But this is my point the whole time. When you see the difference, this is a massive difference. And let's just say you say, well, I need the income to survive. I need the income to do other things. When you learn what you can invest in, then all of a sudden, probably what you were going to be using that money for anyway would qualify you to use it in this way. So even if you had stashed it away so that you didn't have to pay all of the taxes on it, and you slowly started to convert it into Roth over time, that is an option too. And a lot of people don't know that either. So there's a lot here. Do you have more? Do you want to keep going?
So no, the only thing that I had left from here was just kind of highlight the differences. So to continue on as it relates to the differences between an IRA and 401k. So we talked about custodian, we talked about higher contribution limits. The other one is if you have an IRA and you wanted to be able to get money out of it before you hit retirement age, the only way you can do that is through a taxable and sometimes penalizable distribution. Whereas with the 401k, you're able to borrow against it. We talk about this a lot. You're able to leverage your 401k for 50% of what's in it, up to $50,000. You have 5 years to pay it back. If you use it for the purchase of your primary residence, you've got 15 years. But this is one of those vehicles where we talk a lot about velocity banking. If you're looking for a way to be able to get yourself into a more positive cash flow position, versus using a credit card, you're able to borrow against your own 401k and be able to do the same. And you set the terms on when that dollar amount is paid back. And then the last is, go ahead.
That interest is paid back to you,
Absolutely.
Not to the credit card company, not to the lender who gave you your HELOC, not to the HEA or the person who sold you that $4,000 software and a line of credit alongside with it, that it would go back to you. So you have now become your own bank and are able to do that.
Yep. And then IRA, individual retirement account. You can have one, your spouse can have one, but those two can't commingle. Whereas with a 401k, you both can commingle all of your previous employer plans, which means it gives you a much larger pool to be able to contend with, much larger pool to be able to invest from. And then obviously we talked about UBIT. UBIT applies to one. UBIT does not apply to a 401k. IRA, we also talked about it doesn't have the structure required to be able to have the control that you want. So the IRA itself has to purchase an LLC. And again, it requires a custodian. So when you introduce a custodian, when you introduce an LLC, you're introducing fee structures. So it requires a bank, it requires someone to hold your hand through this process. And so therefore you cannot get away from LLC fees. You also can't get away from custodial fees. Whereas with the 401k, because it's a trust, we can eliminate a lot of, we have eliminated those by one, negotiating them out, but two, a custodian is not required. So therefore, there's no reason to have those fees in place. And then the last one is the income limitations. And you don't hear a lot about this either as it relates to those who are promoting IRAs and Roth IRAs. If you make too much money, you cannot contribute to your IRA. Whereas with a 401k, it doesn't matter how much, there are no limitations on how much you can make personally to be able to contribute to that 401k, which is a big one for me.
Make it make sense, because either these are put in place to help us or they're not.
Right.
Right? It can't be both. But it is. And that's where that's where it's not governed. That's where these very bendy laws and processes come from, are those who get to double dip. We had Invest for Yourself said, a fee and taxes are stealing our wealth potential. Fees alone, not even talking about the taxes, but fees alone inside of a traditional retirement account, like through your job.
Yep.
Are you done with the slides, or you want to?
Yeah. You can bring us back together.
Okay. Fees alone steal up to 19 years from somebody, 2/3 of what your retirement account could have been. That's 19 years. You could have retired 19 years earlier. Now, here's why this is important. As people get smarter and as people start to become more self-directed in taking things into their own hands, and now they get to invest and direct their own wealth journey, right? They have more options available to them now. What are they doing? They're increasing the retirement age. So now you have to go longer before you can now take advantage of these vehicles that you could grow your money inside of, right? So tax advantage vehicles, tax deferred vehicles, whatever they are. And we're just leaving an open checkbook for whatever the tax rate is when we turn that age. So let's say we have to wait until we are 75, maybe it'll be 80 for some people, right? We had to wait until that long in order to be able to use it. Then what happens if you can't trade your time for money? What happens if you age out of your industry? What happens if there's anything that happens to you where you cannot work and you need income? What happens then? Well, you have to take a tax hit, and on top of that, you'll have to pay a hefty penalty. You're punished for these types of circumstances coming up in your life where you have saved this money, you have invested this money, you've grown this money, and they get to still make the rules and now penalize you. So let's say you had something, terminal illness, and you wanted to be able to afford treatment. Well, you know what? You still got to pay the penalty. Let's say your parent needs your help and you have to take maybe a year off of work to be able to help them because one, home health care or whatever the health care costs aren't affordable. And two, you know that no one can take care of them like you can. And it's important that you do this job, that you want to do this, and it's important that you do this. Well, too bad. You're going to have to also be penalized for that. This is not okay. We have other options, though. That's the point, is that we do have other options, and we can structure ourselves in better, smarter ways where we are not facing penalties and we have the freedom, the liquidity at any time. And that's what we talk about here. So if you're new here, please subscribe, like this, share it out with somebody. If you know somebody who is on their wealth building journey or who's really freaking out about this right now, send them to us. Send them our way. Have them come join the community and join the journey. We're all in this together, and everybody's at different places, and that is okay. The most important part, though, when you're talking about getting self-directed and that it's important to become self-directed, the important part is becoming educated so that you can make confident and educated decisions, not so that you can take our advice and just do what we say. That's not what this is about. This is about becoming educated so that you know why you're making that decision. That's way different, because if something else comes up in your life and you have an opportunity that you can take advantage of, you'll know how to structure that, right? You'll know where your power is, where your leverage is, and you'll say, easy, I know how to do this. I can feel confident saying yes to this because I know how to do this. I know I can do this, right? Way different. Okay, we have questions. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I said we'd get through the IRA stuff before we jumped into the IUL questions, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. So Kuya says, I want to change my SD IRA custodian. They make me have at least $500 in each IRA. That's $1,000 that I cannot put to work.
Yeah. So transitioning a traditional IRA to anything else is pretty simple. As long as we're talking traditional dollars. If we were talking about Roth IRAs, you can self-direct a Roth IRA, but you can't move a self-directed Roth IRA into a 401k. So it's just one of those quirky things that you can't do. But as it relates to your self-directed IRAs that you have, assuming that you're all traditional dollars, those can easily all be placed into the same self-directed 401k. And then that gives you more control to be able to do what you want. You want to invest in syndications or whatever, you would have the capability of being able to do so. Oh, so this one is related to the GRIP question, right?
Yeah.
So
It's annuity.
guaranteed retirement income plan. I think I know those as guaranteed retirement accounts, GRAs. But so I'm going to assume that they're basically the same. And ultimately, what it boils down there is it's a retirement account used for self-employed individuals to be able to assist in them actually having a vehicle that they can invest in. The key piece there is the limitations around what you can invest in as it relates to that guaranteed retirement account and who holds that guaranteed retirement account, meaning what custodian it's with. Because I go back to there's active custodians, there's active custodians posing as passive custodians, and then there's passive custodians. So if we're talking about a self-directed retirement account, whether it's a guaranteed retirement plan or not, who is that account with and what control do you have? And I think
Yes.
that's the key piece here. Go ahead.
So I looked it up, and it's not the acronym isn't being used as much as it being spelled out. Guaranteed retirement income plan is being associated with annuities.
Right.
So
And again, if you also Google GRAs, guaranteed retirement accounts, those are the ones that are specifically tied to self-employed individuals. Now, a GRIP, like a LERP, because that's where they also those words are interchangeable as well, and that's where we are. That's a totally separate topic. That is getting your money out of an IRA, 401k, 403b, TSP, or government 457 plan in general, and getting a some type of secure compound interest account working for you to be able to build income as well. And again, we talk about that too.
yeah. And so she said, I said, where did you hear this term from? And she said, from a guy that's wanted me to roll over my IRA into a GRIP. You get 20% bonus of what you put in. I'm not knowledgeable of all the details, but since my financial advisor who told me to listen to this person.
Yep, that sounds absolutely like an annuity. And there are some great annuities out there. I think having some clarity around what type of annuity it is and what your obligations are and how it's growing, give you some insight on that 20% bonus though. More than likely, it's an annuity that is producing some guaranteed amount over time. Well, they give you that bonus in case during that period of time, whatever your annuitization period would be, during that period of time, if something were to happen in the market, and there was some loss that happened inside of your account, that 20% bonus is I'll call it receives the full brunt of whatever that loss would be, so that the guaranteed amount would be there at the end of your annuitization period. So it's great to have that 20% bonus, and especially if the market does what it's supposed to and everything performs, you're going to have a great performance inside of that vehicle. But if something were to happen to that, if something were to happen within that account due to market volatility, that 20% kind of it takes some of that impact, so that it's not being impacted by your the amount that you're rolling over. So there are some great annuities out there. I can't say that.
Yeah. And if you want to know more, go to selfdirected.info, and you can put some time on his calendar, ask him all the questions you want. Rose says, so due to UBIT, a self-directed 401k is tax deferred, and any property it purchases is also tax deferred due to how it was purchased. Can you write out banks you use to structure self-directed 401k?
So again, let's step back then. As it relates to creating a self-directed 401k, what is my role in this process? I'm what's called a third-party administrator, meaning that structure that you're referencing around creating a properly designed self-directed 401k, that's literally what I do. My job is to create that structure. The job of my team is to create that structure of that 401k. Once that 401k is done, we're going to link it to a checking account. we're going to link it to a passive custodian. The passive custodians, we're going to link that 401k to, so that you can move or you have access to your funds in your 401k, and you can transfer funds into and out of that 401k. The banks that we use, the banks that we link that 401k that we created to, those the three custodians that we use are Comerica Bank, Titan Bank, and Solera Bank. Now, does that mean those are the only banks that we can use to be able to, I'll call it, create that marriage between your 401k and the custodian? No, we can work with any bank. What the custodians that I'm sharing with you are passive custodians. The custodians I'm sharing with you charge zero custodial fees, which means there's not someone nickel and diming you your account for balance transfers, check writing, and any of the other incidental actions that you take inside of an account when you're using it. And so we can work with any custodian. What we can't do is eliminate the fees those custodians charge once we marry or merge that 401k to it.
I think more banks should offer this as a service. There's just way too many, especially they're coming up with competitive stuff all the time, right? And campaigns, especially Wells Fargo, geez, they've got a whole campaign to rebuild trust after that whole debate. Dirty Money on Netflix. Watch it. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely watch that documentary. Okay.
So Titan Bank is actually a newer custodian for us. So we are having these conversations with banks all the time. So I don't doubt that you will see this list continue to grow as well, because banks still make their money off arbitrage. So there's still an opportunity for banks to make their money. It's the nickel and diming of fees that there's no reason for. And so that's the part that we just can't get beyond. I think we would have more bank relationships if we allowed their fee structure to impact how 401ks function.
Yeah.
But
Well,
not
I
gonna do
mean,
that.
the love you have for Bank of America,
I do.
they should give you, they should restructure something just for you, babe.
That would be nice.
Yeah. Oh, I already read this one. Okay. Rose says, but also again, it's true.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll just
Every
greatest
time.
hits in the chat. Yeah. Here we go. Rose says, if over 59 and a half years old, taking money out from a self-directed 401k is taxed, self-directed Roth 401k profits not taxed. Is that
Yes.
true?
I think that's the shortest answer I've ever given. Yes. that's
Tax
correct.
deferred versus pre-taxed,
Tax-free.
right?
Right. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I don't see any other questions. So let's go over to April's question. She says, I'm getting confused on the differences between SKIAs, MPIs, and IULs. Donnell, please explain or I'll be lost forever. We got you,
So
April.
pull up the Vibe board, because I think this is the piece why we do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're looking at is something that I bring up often. I show often. These are the strategies that I talk through, and I don't talk through them because this is something that I think you should be doing. What I'm sharing with you is what I actually do, what I actually fully am 100% functioning within on a regular, on if not daily basis right now. And so self-directed retirement accounts, self-directed IRAs and 401ks, I own a company called Self-Directed Retirement Accounts, Self-Directed Retirement Plans, LLC. And that company creates self-directed IRAs and 401ks. That's what we've been talking about. And what do those accounts allow you to do? They allow you to control how you are contributing or how you are growing your retirement dollars through the form of self-directed retirement plans. And it allows you to invest in those non-traditional investments that we talk about. Now, but in addition to that, there's velocity banking, there's a first position HELOC, there's infinite banking, and then there's a secure compound interest account, also called MPI. What do those have to do with any of this? Well, here's the thing. If you think about it, they all work together, because in most cases, when we're talking about building retirement income, what is required of you to be able to generate and or build retirement income? You have to have cash flow. So most of the time we're talking about velocity banking, you will hear me ask the question, what's the goal? Like, why are we doing this? And it is not about paying off a home or paying a bill. In most cases, the main objective is to free up enough cash flow so that we can put that money to work to start building additional or supplemental or retirement income. And so, in using velocity banking to do so, what do you learn? Well, you learn about these different debt tools. You know, if you're using, you can use a credit card, you can use a line of credit, you can use a home equity line of credit, first and or second position. You can use a B-lock, a P-lock. Like there's many different tools that you can use to be able to free up that cash flow in doing velocity banking. Well, in the midst of digging into the details of those debt tools, what you learn is a home equity line of credit is pretty powerful. Whether we're talking second or first, a home equity line of credit can be pretty powerful. And so it kind of prompted us to go down the path of understanding how home equity lines of credit work. And in doing so, what we learn is, man, if you get the right home equity line of credit, if you put it in the right position, it can actually not just help you from a velocity banking perspective in freeing up or eliminating debt and freeing up cash flow. You could actually leverage a home equity line of credit to actually do other things, like fund a secure compound interest account. And that kind of pushed us into the realm of infinite banking, where if you get a properly designed cash value life insurance policy, and if you structure it properly, you can leverage it to pay bills, eliminate debt, which does what? Free up cash flow, which does what? Allow you to generate and produce more retirement income. And so all of these vehicles work together. And again, if you understand how they work together, if you do it right, you can put yourself in a position to where it all goes towards one goal. What is that goal? Generating wealth. You can free up the cash flow through velocity banking. You can you can leverage your home, put your home in a better position to where you can leverage it to be able to free up cash flow. You can put that cash flow to work inside of a secure compound interest account like MPI, or use it for infinite banking to also free up more cash flow. But if you use it inside of a secure compound interest account, what's different about that is the leverage piece. You're adding leverage inside of a properly designed cash value life insurance product that is designed to do what? Build wealth. Generate wealth, put yourself in a position to where you can fire your employer. So again, all of these pieces of the puzzle work. And one last piece that I didn't mention in a self-directed 401k is your ability to leverage that self-directed 401k to also feed all of those other pieces as well. Meaning you can borrow up to $50,000 from a self-directed 401k to do velocity banking, to use it to pay down a HELOC if you wanted it to add to the contributions that's being placed into your cash value life insurance policy to do infinite banking, and or use it to fund a portion of your SKIA. So my point is all of these pieces work together. So you're right. We talk a lot about IUL, SKIAs, MPI, HELOCs, velocity banking, and they all talk. The key piece here is understanding how each piece fits in your life. Understanding how to peel back the layers on what it is you're currently doing so that they can all talk. And I think the confusing part, April, is this. We've been conditioned to look at all of these things separately. We've been conditioned to keep IRAs and 401ks in their own space because they're tied to a custodian or tied to an employer that won't allow you to commingle or merge these strategies. We've been conditioned to believe that life insurance is really only about death insurance. We've not fully wrapped our head around how can a properly structured life insurance policy or life insurance vehicle truly be designed to produce retirement income. Why don't we know these things? Who benefits from us not knowing these things? Banks hate the fact that people are now using home equity lines of credit to actually beat the banks at their own games. What would the bank prefer? The bank would prefer you having a mortgage. Why? Because when you have a mortgage, you are putting yourself, what does mortgage stand for? Mortgage stands for death note. So what banks would prefer is you be locked into a mortgage, and so that you have no ability to access the equity that you have in your home, leverage your home in any way, shape, or form to be able to produce anything other than profit for them. So my point is, who benefits from you not being understanding why these things go together? And it's actually designed to confuse you. I think there are financial institutions, banks, and financial advisors who welcome the fact that, hey, don't be confused, April. Just focus over here. Just put your money in your savings account or put your money in your Roth IRA, defer your taxes until you die, because the less you understand about these products and how they work together, the more we can keep you handcuffed and the more we can make money off of you. So I think that the whole purpose and point of us and what it is we do is to kind of lay out how all of these things go together. So the fact that you call that out, I think, is really important, because there's others just like you who aren't clear as to how these things work together. But the more you know how they work together, the more you can put your money in a position to where it can then work for you versus you working for it.
Yeah. And the more educated that you become, the less likely somebody can have you moving in a direction that benefits them more than it benefits you.
Take advantage of you.
Yeah, and I think that for me, that's like my vendetta out here. That is I will go live every two times a week. I will do what is required to get this information out there. Because just take first position HELOC, for instance. This is something that we have personally done. We personally have a first position HELOC, and we've had one and we've been utilizing it for many years. However, probably in the last, we started going live 9 months ago.
I was going to say June.
Yeah, 9 months ago, whatever it was. And in this time, we have seen more people in this space start talking about first position HELOCs. Now, did they already have them and they just decided that they didn't want to talk about them before? Why not? This is their content. This is what they do, right? But all of a sudden, they're talking about them as if they knew about them all the time. Well, then why didn't you say anything about it before? In addition, how to leverage it as in regards to their particular content or things that benefit them. Cool. Why not just educate on them in general and how they can do other things with them? Why not? Why not share all of this information? The other thing is, do you have one? Because it doesn't take long to get one. We've seen people get them inside of our group within like a week. They watched the video, then they went and contacted their lender or their bank, and they learned, wow, I already got approved for one, so now I'm already in place. So it doesn't take very long to get one. But it would take quite a little bit of time for somebody to actively use one to be able to show proof that they know that it works and that this is a part of the strategy. Am I wrong? Am I getting petty?
No, you're absolutely correct.
Okay. The point is, are we done with this part?
Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The point is, I don't think that it is ever going to hurt anybody to educate yourself on these things. Don't believe us. Don't believe a thing we say. Go and find this information and learn about it. If you're reading an article, go read another article. If you are reading an article that says the scams of this, then go find an article with the benefits of it and understand who wrote the article. There's a lot of information out here, and I understand how it can be really confusing for a lot of people to understand what something is or is not, especially when you have people writing articles that may just be more against a person than an actual strategy. It may be more against, I don't want to learn anything new, so I'm just going to shut it down. And I wanted to talk about this tonight. This is the part I wanted to talk about. There's countless examples in our history of when somebody came up with a solution, they learned something new out of the information. And because they came with the, let's call it a theory. This was their theory out the gate. And they said, hey, listen, I think these two things are connected, or I think this could be better. And because that theory challenged more tenured people who felt that they were above that person, they said, you don't know what you're talking about. If there was something to be found, we would have found it. Okay? We would have found it. And because we didn't find it, it's like less likely that you would have found it. So don't come in here with your solutions. And they came back and they said, listen, you gotta listen to me. These two things are connected. I'm telling you, they're connected. And there is something here that you have to see. There's science even, right? That I can prove to you. And they said, no, we don't want to see the science. If there was science to be found, we would have found it. We are experts. We've been doing this for a long time. And he's like, that's the point. I've used everything that you have done, all of the information that you've given me and I've learned from, and now I have just peeled back more layers, and now I'm seeing this about it. This is a story of how I forgot the word last time and I forgot it now because I was going to prepare a whole thing. We can talk about, I could do a whole live stream about this, but I'll just throw these nuggets in here. Ulcers, when they used to think that what you were eating was burning holes in your stomach, right? And somebody said, actually, I don't think that what people are eating are burning holes in their stomach. I think ulcers could also be stress induced. They're like, you're crazy, get out of here. That's not a thing. Actually, I think it is. If somebody with levels of high anxiety could actually impact how their body functions. And they're like, stress, really? How many centuries have people been stressed out and they've lived? Like, get out of here. Stress is not a medical thing. He's like, I'm pretty sure all the tests I've done, stress can have an impact on your body. And particularly this thing is what I've isolated. So I'd just like to start here and focus on this. It was well over a decade before they would even give it any credit. Well over a decade. There are gatekeepers and people who got to decide that this information wasn't true, and how many people were suffering for over a decade, suffering because there were people who felt that they were smarter than the people who were also doing research, and they just got to be in the position to shut it down. That's what's happening right now. They get to write a blog because their blog is popular and has a reputation. They get to do a video or link up with somebody else or a podcast or whatever it is. And this is happening in the financial space. And that is why it's important that we educate ourselves. The same thing happened with gut bacteria and your microbiome. Somebody said, oh, I think there's this thing called microbiome, and that bacteria in your gut like impacts your whole body. They were like, what? Bacteria in your gut? Are you crazy right now? Are you serious? Again, I want to say this was 18 years. Yeah, that people got to decide it's not a thing, not a real thing. You're crazy. That sounds crazy. How about that HIV caused AIDS? How about that? That was another decade. Matter of fact, 1980 is when that came out, and 2008 is when the Pulitzer Prize or whatever the award was given to the person who actually discovered it in 1980. That's crazy. That's crazy that 28 years later is how long it took for this information to even be given weight, right?
Right.
And how many people had suffered in the process simply because there were people who just felt that they were smarter, that it couldn't be possible because they didn't discover it, right? Because they weren't going to get the Pulitzer Prize or whatever for it. Who cares? If it's going to help people, we get to decide if it's going to help people or not. That's where we are with retirement planning. That's where we are with financial security. And this is why we have to start asking ourselves better questions. Educate ourselves and asking ourselves questions. And that is why we ask one very important question. That question is, will it make the boat go faster? We ask ourselves this question because regardless of what anybody else gets to decide for us, there are things that we can control. There's direction that we can choose to navigate. We can also learn to continue to educate ourselves, or we can choose to stay ignorant because it's uncomfortable. We have to ask ourselves where we're going. What is the goal? But if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And that is why we give away the boat, and that is why we share this sentiment. So I'm going to play it again before we spin to win. Will it make the boat go faster? And here's why we asked that question.
In 1998, a British rowing team dreaming of the Olympic gold found themselves ranked 7th. Their focus had always been on the competition day, but they realized the keys to reaching their highest potential were hiding in the decisions that they'd make over those next 2 years.
Faced with two obvious choices, continue their current path and expect the same result, or give up, they discovered a third transformative option. They're united under one guiding question. Will it make the boat go faster? Every decision, every action was weighed against this mantra. If the answer was yes, they could or would have to do it.
If the answer was no, it was forbidden, non-negotiable. Prior to the competition, this team was doubted and ridiculed, but no one knew what they had been doing. And once they hit the water, they were nearly unrecognizable, achieved their pinnacle, and won the gold. So we ask you,
What is your goal? What are you willing to do to achieve it?
will your story feel unrecognizable, even to you? Are you willing to light your beacon and stay focused, stay committed? Is your story non-negotiable, or are you waiting to find out how you ranked? Your financial future is not a game. You are only competing with yourself and those in the boat with you, your family and the many generations to come.
Will this make the boat go faster? A sounding alarm, a beacon of clarity amidst turbulent life decisions.
It's not just about speed, but direction, purpose, and an unwavering commitment. Every choice, every sacrifice aimed at the goal.
The first agreement this team made was to become fully self-directed, making their health their wealth, adopting a new perspective on their time and freedom, and the decisions they could fully control to reach their goal.
Will we make your boat go faster? That is our pledge to you. Our mission is to arm you with knowledge, strategies, and insights to ensure that not only you reach the goal, but you do so long before your race is over.
Splash.
All right, here we go. Oops, dang it. All right. Who's gonna win? We give these away as a visual reminder of that story. Who's it gonna be? I wish we could make it go like stop faster. I don't know if there's a setting on here or not. All right. Oh, whoops. All right. So we got Carlos. I think Carlos has got a couple boats. Maybe not. Oh, you're in there now. Oh, hey. I got all the boats. I got all the boats. We're gonna.
I've never won one, so I'm very rarely in the comments. So
Yeah, you are. That'd be great for you to win. All right, here we go. You might have to change up the music. You know, sometimes that makes it work better. No whammies, Will said. Josephine.
congrats.
Josephine, congrats. All right, let's spin again. Let's see who it is. Do you guys use your boats when you get them? We've given out quite a few. Hey! How to invest says, I already have 2 boats. You know what's cool? We
Well
should,
deserved.
yeah, one time we had somebody who had won twice, and I think that if you win a second time, we started a new rule. We're going to send you another boat so you can share it with somebody and share the concept with somebody, because how dope is that, right? But if you wanted to, we had people gifting their boats to new people in the chat. I thought that was amazing. So you have the option to do that too. If you saw somebody in the chat that you know hasn't won yet and you wanted to give away your boat and gift it, not re-gift, right? It's not a re-gift. It's
Just
gifting.
It's good. It's
Yeah.
gifting.
All right. Let's spin one more time.
That's what we do in the community.
Yeah. Let's spin
Last
one more
one.
time. All right. Then we got some questions, and then we'll get out of here. All right, Rose.
Rose hasn't won one, has she?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Okay. Well,
Congratulations.
congratulations. All right.
So where do they go?
Yep. And we got a couple questions here. And if you put them in since I boat chicka wow wow. PP, you are
I'm
funny.
asking. So where do they go to receive their boat?
Oh
Let me
yeah.
look that up.
That part is important. Okay. Here. You go here. selfdirected.info/live. You go there, scroll down to about like 3/4 of the page. There'll be the photo with some confetti. There's a lady on there and it says winner. Did you win a boat? You click that button and then you fill out the form. That way I don't accidentally input the address wrong. Matter of fact, I think Rose did win, and I think she was the one that I accidentally sent. We got the address mixed up. Rose is the reason why the form exists, and we thank you for that because we have no idea how that happened. But now we know it won't happen again. So go here, fill out the form, and then we will send you your boat. So again, if you want to gift it to somebody else, that's good if you've already received one. But I think the most powerful thing is sometimes when we get that boat and we want to be able to share the concept with people, but we're not going to give our boat away. I need some water. Okay, let's get into these comments. We have just a couple left here. Rose says, and it's from Rose. Rose says, HELOC due to simple interest versus mortgage amortization makes so much sense. But does escrow keep HELOC from fully working?
No. So what happens is all of that. So you are responsible for your taxes. So what happens is you take control over that process. And I'll give you my own personal example. I've got a first position HELOC. There's nothing going into escrow for me. So I think it's semi-annual payments that I have for my property taxes. I have to pay. I think it's October and April, if I'm not mistaken, are the two periods where I have to pay property taxes. But here's the cool part about that. That dollar amount that I build up for the property taxes, where does it sit? Where does it live? It lives inside of my home equity line of credit, which means what? I'm keeping the balance down as low as possible. So I'm paying the least amount in interest over time. And then when I need to take that lump sum out of my HELOC and pay property taxes, I do so. So it ends up being a vehicle that I still control, that I have the ability to access when I want, leverage when I want, use when I want, and also drive my income through just like a traditional velocity banking tool.
Okay, Jeannie says, when is a good time to approach your mortgage company or bank about a first position HELOC? I've only had my mortgage for 1 year.
Yeah, again, going back to our personal situation, I think we had to wait 90 days, if I'm not mistaken. But because you stated first position HELOC, I don't know that today's climate is the right climate to begin with, especially because you're 1 year into your mortgage. The questions that I would ask is, how much equity do you have? So if there's enough equity to kind of justify a first position HELOC, then rock out. But if you've only been in your home a year, my question would be, is there enough equity, or enough room rather, between what the home is worth and what you owe to be able to justify a first position HELOC? And also, what is your cash flow? Because you would want to make sure you're also generating enough cash flow to be able to properly use your home as a true debt tool. Because regardless of where you go to get a first position HELOC, 9 times out of 10, that interest rate is going to be somewhere between, I'll call it 8 and probably 13%. So you need to be careful as to what it is you're actually getting, understand the vehicle that you're getting, understand the interest rate. And what I like to do is I like to pit banks against each other. So do yourself a favor and interview multiple banks. Don't just go to the first bank you see that offers a first position HELOC, or go just to the bank that has your current mortgage. Interview a lot of banks and pit them against each other and go for that best rate.
Yep. I'd also say that this is one of the benefits of being in an election year, is that we get to see all kinds of opportunities come up in regards to interest rates and affordable housing, right? So there may be some drops that we're going to see in the market. It also, in my opinion, it kind of means like a teeter-totter, right? Like as one goes down, something else goes up. We see interest rates go down. We see bidding wars start to rise, especially in our area. So the benefit to, if you're looking for a first position HELOC or a HELOC in general, is that they're also tend to be competitive as well. So that is one benefit of this year that we can look forward to, and keeping your eye on that. So I just want to throw that out there, just to throw it out there. All right. Rose says, if you already have a 401k from your former employer, can you continue to use the EIN from your old 401k when rolling over to a new self-directed 401k? Is there even an advantage to doing so?
Yeah, so that 401k that you currently have with a previous employer, the 401k that you have with an employer or the 401k from a previous employer, is still a 401k that is structured by the employer that you previously worked for, meaning it does not have the capability that you need to be able to self-direct it. So we're going to have to move those dollars into a brand new self-directed 401k anyway, because it still functions under the same, I'll call it, limitations that you had when you worked there. When you worked there, that 401k wasn't yours. It was actually the structure of that 401k was designed by the company that you worked for and the custodian that it was with. When you left that company, that 401k was still with that same custodian, meaning it still had that same structure, which means it still can't invest in non-traditional investments because it wasn't allowed to when you were there. So we're still going to have to physically move that 401k or the dollars from that 401k into a vehicle that is properly designed, properly structured. So the benefit of having the EIN number of the 401k with the employer that it was with or is with, there's really no benefit there because the structure isn't there.
Okay. Jeannie says, I received my boat. My boat is displayed on a shelf in my bedroom, and it's the first thing I see when I get up in the morning, a constant reminder of my goal. I love that.
Love it.
Yeah. We have some of ours. We have boats all over the house. We have some of ours all throughout the house, and everybody here has one, or at least one. We have them lined up in front of the TV in the living room. When people come in, that's like one of the first rooms that they see. And I think we have successfully given all the boats away that were in front of the TV. There's like 6 of them lined up there, and we've given them away. And that's where I was saying, like, maybe it is good to have extra boats out there, because that's a great way of sharing and inviting people into the community too. At least sharing the concept is powerful. Okay, we had some other, I don't think we have any more questions. I wonder how getting a first position HELOC is when having a VA mortgage.
Yeah. So the thing about, and again, I know very little about VA mortgages. I just know the experience that people that I've worked with have had with VA mortgages. And I have yet to see a VA mortgage, one, allow you to recast or allow you to do anything. I think here's the reason why. Most VA mortgages, there's so many incentives that are given to you as veterans that they don't allow you to, I'll call it, adjust or change any of the structure of a VA loan. But as it relates to a home equity line of credit, getting a home equity line of credit through Navy Federal, which is one of the banks that offer VA loans, you can absolutely convert that VA loan into a home equity line of credit with no issue. It's the modifications to the VA loan that makes it difficult. But converting the VA loan to a first position home equity line of credit, that's traditionally not a problem at all.
Okay. Nathan says Donnell should let his self-connected shirt get a full view in the camera. Can we see it?
Yeah, I think that's I think the issue is more related to where the picture is sitting on the shirt, because I think it just needs to be higher. There's really not much that I can do other than stand up.
Yeah, well, can you just lift your shirt a little bit?
I just did that. Like, that's about the best that I can do.
Yeah, there it is. And we have these, you can get these now. Mm-hmm. Of course, just a reminder, we don't make any money off of this stuff. We just made this because our community was like, we need this shirt, and we agreed. This has to be a thing. And it has the pause in it.
I love this shirt because it has the pause in it.
It has the pause right here.
Kind of hard. My name is in the way, but it has the pause in it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, those were so much fun to make. Oh my gosh, I have not laughed that hard since that stream. That was so much fun. Okay, guys. Well, I think we've answered all the questions. Oh, Frankie has one more, which is a perfect last question. What's for dinner? No doubt. We are ready. We are ready to eat. So that's where we'll end it. If you didn't come from a wealthy family,
we can make sure a wealthy family comes from you.
So stay tuned.
Stay protected.
Stay focused.
Stay connected.
My name's Angelique.
And I'm Donnell.
And our goal is to help you
get self-directed.
And to do that, we have all these free resources. So check them out, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth. time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait.
Invest in what you want, when you want.
But first, let us help you get self-directed.